Okay, so now we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to, I think, one of the coolest parts of the Studiolive experience, and that is the wireless control. Now, why do you need wireless control? Wireless control really gives you, first of all, as the sound guy, the ability to be anywhere in the room you need to be to hear the sound. Most of the time, the front of house position in a church is going to be in a place where you're out of the way of people. So sometimes you're up in a balcony or you're below a balcony. I mean, this is actually a pretty cool front of house position, but even if I'm here mixing, it's going to sound a little bit different to somebody in the back of the church versus somebody on the second row. So now with an iPad, I can walk around and basically be wherever front of house is. So just going over Studiolive Remote, basically this is the iPad app. And again, just like Virtual Studio Live, it basically is a visual representation of what's happening on my mixer. So of course I can grab any channel. I can, EQ any channel. I can access the compressor, the noise gate, just like this. I can also adjust auxes for anybody. So, aux 10, as you can see on the mixer, I'm controlling the mixer just like this. And it's bi-directional. So, if I grab this and mess with it, I'll see everything reflected on the iPad that I'm seeing on the mixer as well. So it's a total remote control. It's a Studiolive Remote. That's what it does. One of the cool things I love about it is when you're looking at this overview page, if I want to look at just one channel, kind of concentrate on one channel, like let's say, this acoustic channel right here, basically, if I pop it open like this and turn it to portrait mode, it pops open the settings of just that one channel really big. So now I can kind of flip through and look at the different channels one by one. And, okay, I can go from channel to channel, and not only do I see basically the actual EQ compressor and gate for that channel, also see the auxes. So, if I'm working with somebody's monitor, I can very easily just walk over to the wedge and, okay, hey, do you need a little bit more of channel 22 in your aux? I can kind of give them a little bit more like that. The other thing that you can do, and this is really invaluable, especially when you're trying to, ring out a monitor. I mean, this is a big problem for people, is being able to, have to create some feedback and then to be able to figure out where that feedback is. And now with the Smart Spectra, it's a lot easier, but I can access my actual graphic EQs right here and, very easily just like click on a graphic EQ and be able to turn up frequencies. You can see like these right here are linked. I can assign these, let's say, to the subgroup. I can also, basically go up to this EQ when I have the draw mode on and hold my finger down and kind of drag it and draw in a curve. So if I just want to just take out the low end, I can kind of do that. Flatten it out just very easily like that as well. You also have now scene recall. This is something that I think is very, very cool, and that is from anywhere in the house where I might be, I might have a particular scene for a particular part of the service. Maybe I want to have a scene where right when the band finishes, I load the pastor's scene, it loads the right graphic EQ, it mutes all the channels, very usable kind of stuff. Well, now you can do that from the iPad as well. You just pick the scene you want, hit load, you're done. And then there's the settings tab, and this is where I can actually go through and actually change the name of anything in VSL. So, like let's say all of a sudden, a particular Sunday I forget that, there's going to be, an extra guitar player. So here's Jerry Guitar, not Gator, spell check. Okay, now if you look at channel 11 down here, you'll see here it is, Jerry Guitar. So it updated it on Virtual Studio Live, and any other iOS devices on stage, it updated there as well. So on anybody's iPad or iPhone on stage, all of these settings, will apply. Okay, so now let me go and show you the second wireless app, and that is called QMix. And this is for the iPhone, iPod Touch. Now, the idea here is that when we first came out with the iPad app, people were really excited, and of course sound guys were really excited, and some musicians that had iPads were stoked because, you know, the ability to be able to have your sheet music on an iPad and be able to flip over and adjust your in-ear mix, that is so cool for a musician that has an iPad. But what about, you know, iPads are kind of expensive. If I have 10 people up on stage or 9 people, you know, 9, 10 iPads gets kind of pricey. So we came out with an app called QMix. It's for the iPod Touch or the iPhone, and it allows you to be able to adjust your in-ear or headphone mix using your phone or your iPod Touch. Now you notice I didn't mention adjusting your monitor mix with an iPhone, and that's only, I mean, you can do it if you want to, but we don't really recommend it because, you know, if you give a musician the control over his monitor, and if he's not careful during a performance, if it's a wedge, you can actually cause a lot of feedback, and, you know, most sound guys don't want to give that much control to the musician, but it's a great thing, you know, like some of the band members had expressed in the video, of not having to flag the sound guy down when you need a little extra keyboard in your ears. So, you know, if you look at QMix, the first thing you see is the start page. It shows what Studiolive mixers are connected on the network. I just hit connect, and now here's all of the channels on my Studiolive mixer. So there's 24 channels. As you can see, I'm actually adjusting things on the mixer and controlling it wirelessly, okay? Now, the other cool thing about this is that if I flip the phone this way, you get this really neat screen, and this allows you to be able to very easily, you know, increase or decrease the volume of your channels. So we call this the Wheel of Me page, okay? So what is the Wheel of Me? Well, it allows you, let's say I'm, you know, the acoustic guitar player in the band, and I'm on channel, you know, 21. Well, if I hit the Me button right here, it has all of my inputs that show up, and I just select channel 21 because that's my channel, right? And I go back to the page, and now it basically gives me my channel, which is acoustic, on the left versus the band, which is on the right. So as you can see, with just one swipe, I'm controlling what's happening on the mixer, right? And it leaves the band mix intact, okay? Now, you always have this problem with some musicians that, you know, they just want more me the whole night. And finally, you get to a certain point where you have to explain to them, okay, look, I've given you all of you that I can. Now what you need to do is turn down everybody else in your mix so you can hear yourself, and then turn up the overall volume of your headphone amp. Well, QMix kind of takes care of that for you. So if you have one of those musicians that just wants more me, watch what happens. When I keep going up and up and up, when it gets to the top, it starts turning the rest of the band down. So this is a really cool little trick to be able to keep, notice this though, if you look at the mixer, it's keeping the band mix intact. So, you know, even when it starts bringing the band down, it keeps the relative instruments intact. So it just makes basically a group of everybody else except for the acoustic, and it allows you to go back and forth. So that's QMix, and that's the second wireless application that we have. So yes, indeed. All right, so now what happens if you have multiple iPads and phones? Because, you know, we say with the Studiolive solution, you can connect up to 10 different devices. How do you manage all that? Because one of the big problems is that, you know, there's some people, you know, on stage that, let's say you want to give them a lot of control. Maybe you have one member, maybe you only have one iPad for the whole stage, and they've got to, you know, kind of do everybody's monitors from stage. Well, that's where permissions come in. And that's where we've created a page where you can give permission to any particular musician to have control over exactly what you want. So if you look at Virtual Studio Live, I'm on the setup page, and you can see, look at this, we've got a bunch of iPhones and iPads all connected. Okay, so here's Rick's phone, the one that we were just looking at, right? And, you know, as you can see right now, I have access to aux 10. So you can see there's aux 10. Well, let's say Rick is that guy that I want to give him more control. So I go back to Virtual Studio Live, and I change it from aux 10 to all auxes. Now watch what happens. Well, now go back to the phone, and you can see now I've got control over everybody's auxes on stage, okay? But let's say Rick is one of those guys that, okay, not only does he not need too much control, he needs very, very little control. In fact, I don't want to even give him access to 24 faders because all he's going to do is sit there on his phone all day, all the entire service and, futz with his levels. Well, here's where you can really make this work for you. If you have that kind of musician that's not really technical enough to mix 24 channels, what you can do is you can do the copy mains to cues, copy the main mix and give him a basic starting point, give him a me channel, and then I can go over here to Rick's and I can give him basically access only to one aux and then only wheel only. Now, when I hit the wheel only button, watch what happens to the phone. Okay, wheel only, Rick, sorry, dude. You don't have permission to modify the auxes. Rotate your device to use the wheel of me. So now he's got the more me, and that's all he's got, no matter what he does. And that's a really helpful thing for some people. I've played in churches many times before where you had literally, volunteer singers, and a lot of them are not musicians. They're just singers, and, you hand them an Aviom system and say, good luck, I mean, it's really kind of overwhelming. So we wanted to create a solution that is comprehensive enough for a high-tech kind of musician, but also easy enough to just give, just a singer or a low-tech musician more me very easily. Okay. So now the next thing we're going to do is get set up to do a sound check. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin and
Hey. Check 1, 2. Hey. This is what I sound like through a microphone. This is what I sound wirelessly like through a microphone. Check 1, 2. Hey. How you doing over there? Can you hear me okay, Matt?
more?
More. He needs more me. More me. You can take me out of the house a little bit if you'd like. Or I could do it myself because I have the power wirelessly. All right, so what we're going to do is all these guys, all these young, strapping young lads are on wireless ears or wired ears and some headphones. But Phil, this lovely gentleman over here on keys, is actually also using a wedge. So he's got his ear, he got an ear in and ear out, and he's using a wedge. So what we're going to do is we're making a little noise, and we're going to get some stuff happening through the wedge. And I'm going to say, hey, this is happening. Do you like that? And he's going to say, and I'm going to say, how about this? And he's going to go. So you ready to try that? Okay, so maybe I can get Brad to play a little bit of drums, and I'll throw some kick and snare and some overheads, and you let me know when you have what you like. Give me that master. 2. Oh, yeah. That's cool. A little bass guitar, maybe? Bass, is that how you pronounce that? Bass or bass? Bass, bass. The A is silent. Maybe drums and bass? Can you hear him okay? Awesome. Does that work? More bass, less bass? Maybe a little more bass. Oh, yeah. Cool. That's cool. How about a little acoustic guitar? Because I can do that for you. Beautimus, that's enough. That's enough of you, sir. Thank you. And then we have some guitar over here from the Codester. That's your new nickname, thank you. Codester. And then take us for a ride, Braid. Can you just play that for the rest of the deal? I'm just feeling it. All right, so we have drums, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, rhythm, lead guitar, more bass. He asked me to turn it up. So if you all could kind of like play together, and I'll just give an overall mix, and you let me know when you got it to where you want it. So just a 1, 2, and then whatever you want to play. Sounds pretty good, right? I guessed. That's cool. Okay, so what's really cool is my guys, these are my buddies, they're all totally advanced. They all have iPads and iPhones, and they're using QMix on their phones, and they're using SL Remote on their iPads, and they're making their own mixes. So they're able to, take our starting point and kind of take it to the next level. If they need a little bit less, they thought they needed a little bit more themselves, and maybe they're just a little too loud. So they're able to make those adjustments in real time while they're actually playing. Right? You would say that could definitely happen in real life. Sir, what would you say about that? I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. I love this guy. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to send it back to Rick, and he's going to give you that overview about what just happened, and we're going to start that sound check.